Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back for episode 18 of Hypovolemia. Last episode was a live stream, so it was a little longer than usual, but we did quite a lot of stuff. We set up a few of the automated setups required to complete a few of the quests in the second chance section of the quest book, and since the end of last episode, since that live stream, quite a few of these are now complete. For example, we do have all 10 of these portable tanks filled up to the brim with mob essence, so we can hand in the essence quest anytime we like. The water was already done during the live stream. The sludge is also 100% complete at this point. The only one not to be complete is the lava. The lava is currently 41% complete. It is ticking up very, very slowly. At some point during today's episode, I might just take one of these quest delivery systems into the nether and just run around for a few minutes with some buckets trying to fill it up and trying to complete that quest. And then after that, the only quest that's going to stop us from getting to this quest over here, which is the one that gives us a crystal cluster as a reward, is this quest right here, which wants us to hand in 10 portable tanks filled with molten iron. Now, I've started working on this a little bit up here in our induction crucible furnace. We do have a portable tank, and we can put iron directly into that crucible furnace and have it transported directly into the portable tank. However, I'm not 100% sure if this is going to work, simply because the lava in the picture there looks a little different to the lava, the iron in the picture there looks a little different to the iron shown in the picture here. So I'll try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we might have to see if there's another way that we can get molten iron into the portable tank. It is quite possible it could be a broken quest, and I might have to do a little bit of conjiggering with the config files to get it to work, but that is a future problem. For now, we're just going to keep filling those up with iron, and the next episode, hopefully when we come back, we'll have 10 buckets worth. I'll spend quite a bit of time between episodes, hopefully filling those up and getting the 10 that we need. But today, what I want to work on is, of course, a little bit of Botania, because we still need to make some crystal clusters. Even if we manage to get this quest complete, that only gets us one more crystal cluster, taking us to 2 out of the 4 that we need for a tier 6 altar. And as we've mentioned a few times before, the only thing really holding us back at this point is Botania. We need that Terra Steel, and we need to make a lot of it pretty quickly. So during the live stream, we set up this thing here. This is the frame for the portal to the Alfheim. And the portal to the Alfheim, if we look in our Lexicon Botania, is basically a portal that we can't go through, but one that we can throw items into to get different items back. And the reason why we made that is because somebody in the stream recommended that we make ourselves some of the Kekimurus flowers. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but recommended that we make some of these flowers and automate these flowers for Botania. And for those who don't know, the way that these flowers work, you can probably guess by the image here, but basically, these flowers consume cake and produce mana, quite a lot of it. And to make this, we need some white petals, some orange petals, some brown petals, a rune of gluttony, which is a rune of fire, a rune of winter, and 2 mana diamonds, and the rune of winter is a rune of water, rune of earth, a cake, some wool, and some snow. And then finally, we need this stuff over here. This is pixie dust. I can't click on it right now because I don't know the recipe, but I have looked at the wiki, and the way that you get pixie dust is by throwing a mana pearl into the portal to the Alfheim. Now, we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to do that right at the end of the episode, because the way that the portal to the Alfheim works is, I believe it requires about half a mana pool worth of mana. Don't quote me on that number, by the way. I'm not quite sure if that's right, but it requires a lot of mana to open up the portal, and then it will slowly drain the mana as the time goes on and as it stays open. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all the rest of the stuff that we need so I can utilize this mana here, and so we don't really have it wasted. So I turn it on now, I can make the pixie dust, but then I'm going to just be slowly losing mana into the portal when I don't really need it open. And so I'm going to do that at the very end of the episode, and instead we're going to start by making some of the rest of the stuff. So for example, the petals, I'm fairly certain we already have. The rune of gluttony shouldn't be all too hard to make. We can make mana diamonds super easy. Speaking of which, how many diamonds do we have now? We currently have 1,570 diamonds, as well as 1 mana diamond already in the system. So we now have more than enough diamonds to actually go ahead and make ourselves our first crystal cluster. So if we come back over here, we can make our second mana diamond, and then all we're going to need is actually the rune of summer, I think it might be. This one down here, the rune of winter. To make this, we need a cake, which I think we can make. Also, since the end of last episode, that does remind me, I did set up a few more seeds. I got a few more seeds up to 10, 10, 10 with AgriCraft. We have normal wheat seeds so that we can make wheat. We have chicken seeds so we can make eggs, and we have cow seeds so that we can make milk. All of those are, of course, ingredients that we need to make ourselves some cakes for this Kekimurus flower over here. And I also replaced rubber seeds, these ones over here, with sugarcane seeds. You can also get up to 10, 10, 10. So we now have a bunch of sugar in the system as well, and we'll automate all of that stuff and the cake making process and all that kind of stuff later on in today's episode. For now, let's come back over here, and for the Rune of Winter, all that we need is, we need the cake. We've already got the Rune of Water, the Rune of Earth, 2 snow blocks, which are going to be interesting to make, as well as some wool. I'm fairly certain that we already have what it takes to make wool. All we need is 4 string, and we do have quite a bit of string. Yes, we do. Good stuff. Making a cake might be fairly easy. We need an egg, and we need some milk. Both of those are fairly easy to get now that we have a ton of both of those essences. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a bucket, because flipping heck, we haven't made enough buckets during this series, so we'll do that. I don't know if this actually uses up the bucket to make the milk. I think it might do, but you get the bucket back when you craft the cake, so I'm fairly certain the cake recipe doesn't use the bucket. So if we do that, that gets us our first cake, and now all that we're missing is the snow. So I was looking into this, and it seems like the easiest way for us to make snow is via this recipe here, which requires still water next to the pure daisy. Now, there's a slight problem with that, in that if you try and put water directly next to the pure daisy, like if I was to put a pure daisy here and put water next to it, the water would flow over and break the pure daisy. So I did a little bit of research online, and it turns out that if you make the floating version of the pure daisy, you can actually put it next to the still water, and nothing will go wrong. And so, that's exactly what we're going to do. So if I type in pure daisy here, you can see the way that you make the floating pure daisy is with a normal pure daisy and any kind of floating flower. Last episode, we got ourselves these floating white flowers, and so all we need to do is take one of these, combine it up with our pure daisy, and we get ourselves a floating pure daisy, which I think if we now put right about here, like on top of where this block is, if I put it right about there, I think I should be able to put the still water right about here, and I think then it should turn slowly into snow. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to put this down, and we're going to see if this works. If it doesn't, we might have to actually move that down now that I think about it. Let me get rid of both of those. I think it might need to be there. And a little while later, once both of those water blocks have turned into snow, we can go ahead and break them, craft those snowballs back up into blocks of snow, and I think that's pretty much everything we need to actually go ahead and craft ourselves the Rune of Winter. So, let's go back in here, let's grab ourselves our runic altar, and then let's take this guy. We also got ourselves some elven mana spreaders, which I think we're going to put to use in today's episode. If I'm not mistaken, these can transfer more mana than the normal mana spreaders. Again, don't quote me on that. My knowledge of all the Botania stuff is not the most accurate in the world, but for now what we'll do is we'll stick down our normal runic altar right about there, we'll stick down a mana spreader right about there, and all we need to do now is add all the stuff onto here that is required to make the Rune of Winter. So, let's go back over to our AE system. Let's grab ourselves the cake. Let's grab the wool. And then I can't quite remember what else we needed. Let's have a look. Winter, the Rune of Winter. We needed the Rune of Water, the Rune of Earth, and that is about it. So, Rune, let's grab ourselves the Rune of Water, the Rune of Earth, and then we'll also grab the Rune of Fire as well, because the overall Rune of Gluttony that we're trying to make also requires a Rune of Fire. So, I think at this point, all we need to do is put every single piece of this puzzle onto here like so, and I think that's about it. So now, if we right-click with our Wand of the Forest, that's going to start making the Rune of Winter, quickly transferring mana from this mana pool to the runic altar over here. You can also see these mana spreaders are already full of mana, waiting to pump it back in. And then once that's done, we need to quickly grab ourselves some more living rock from over here. I'm fairly certain we now have a ton of living rock. Yeah, we got quite a lot of that for completing a few of the Botania quests in the last episode. So what we need to do is throw this down onto there like so, give it a quick click, and we get ourselves the Rune of Gluttony. Nice. Now, if we go back to the Kekimurus, this flower over here, we need the Rune of Gluttony. We need to make the Rune of... Oh, no, we made the Rune of Winter. To make the Rune of Gluttony, we need the Rune of Fire as well as 2 mana diamonds. So, let's put you, and you on there. Give it another right click. Quickly grab one more living rock. Again, let's see, living rock. I think this is the last one we're going to need in today's episode, possibly. And then again, we'll come back. This thing is already done. Let's do a quick throw like that. Give it a quick right click. And there we go. We now have 2 Runes of Gluttony, which is going to allow us to make 2 of these Kekimuras. And what I'll probably do between episodes as well is make quite a few more of those runes, doing the same stuff that we've just done now, to make as many of these Kekimuras flowers as we possibly can. So, now the only thing that we need to actually make this thing work is some pixie dust. But we're still not going to do it just yet, because there's a few more Botania things that we're going to do in order to automate the process before we actually put them down and get them ready. So, to do this, we need to do a few things. We need to have some cakes that are automatically made and automatically put down down for these cake flowers to consume. Now, normally that wouldn't seem like too big of a deal. We'd get some autonomous activators maybe from thermal expansion, throw them down, tell them to output cakes, everything would be good. Unfortunately, there are not a whole lot of items within this that allow me to put blocks down or simulate a right click, not that I know of. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to make a formation plane from Applied Energistics. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to specify certain items to be placed down in the world whenever they are inputted into the ME system. And I'll kind of show you an example of this here. Let me quickly go ahead and make one of these. We might have to grab some nether quartz, some redstone, and some charged Certus quartz to make a little bit more of these fluix crystals here. So let's just take all of those. We can easily make ourselves some more of all of these. So I'll just take all 28 and we'll throw all of them into the water like so. Give it a few seconds. And once we got all of those, cool stuff. I'm not quite sure why I just got the achievement for doing that for the first time, but that's fine. We will go ahead and make one of those once we've gotten ourselves a formation core. Oh, I was really hoping we'd have all of that stuff. Thankfully, it's not too hard. We do need to get another one of the circuits. Okay, so a little while later, I've made myself the ME formation plane as well as a cake here. And basically, the way that this is going to work, let me see. Do we have any ME glass fiber cable? The answer is probably no. Actually, we do here. This is good. Basically, what we're going to do is not here, obviously. We're going to do is set it up over there by all the Botania stuff. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to have an ME formation plane like so. And we're going to right-click on it. We're going to put a cake inside like that. And now, whenever a cake is inputted into the AE system, for example, if I do something like that, it will go ahead and put that cake down on the floor. And then all of the flowers around it can go ahead and start to consume that cake and turn that cake into mana. Pretty cool stuff. So that's how we're going to automate that bit of the process. The next bit, probably the hardest bit, is how we're going to actually automate the crafting of the cakes. Now, there are a few ways we could do this, but a few of them I don't think are going to work. For example, we could set up another one of these molecular assemblers and just tell these export buses to just export flour, sugar, eggs, and milk into the molecular assemblers and then auto-craft cakes. But what happens there is the system very quickly fills up with cakes, and unfortunately, the ME formation plane only seems to work when the cake is inputted into the system. For example, if I was to make another cake here real quick, like let's grab 3 more of these milk buckets like so. Let's quickly craft another egg. And if I was to go ahead and put this into the system, like maybe we have some sugar cane, let's do that and then make another cake. If I was to put this in the system, the formation plane will now not put that cake down. So if I was to break this cake, like so, we did lose the cake by the way, but the formation plane you'll see will not put the cake down. It only puts the cake down when you actually put the cake into the AE system. And so what we need to do is we need to set up a system that is kind of on a timer and is set to put a cake into the system when all of the cake eating flowers have eaten the cake. And to do that, we can't really use the ME molecular assemblers. It's at this point that somebody in the comment section is probably telling me how you can do it using molecular assemblers, but I've figured out a way that we're going to do it without molecular assemblers and using a few of the mods as well. And so we're going to do it that way for the time being. So the way I'm going to do this is using the liquid crafter from Minefactory Reloaded. This thing is kind of like an auto crafter, but it requires a redstone signal. So to make this, we need 2 buckets, a crafting table, a factory machine block, 2 item frames, and 3 plastic sheets. I'm fairly certain we should be able to make almost all of this pretty much instantly. We've already got all the plastic sheets. Making a machine frame is super easy. Getting ourselves some item frames is fairly easy, but we do need to put some oak into the blood altar to get ourselves some planks. And once we got those planks, we can go ahead and make ourselves a stack of sticks, at which point we can make ourselves 2 of these item frames. And then once we've got both of those, I think we can make some more leather using our cow essence. Yeah, we can do that, get another one of those. And once we've got that, I think we are pretty much almost good to go. We just need to get ourselves a crafting table. Nice. So that gets us the liquid crafter, and like I said, if we put this thing down, I guess like here for now, this thing works as an auto crafter, but it requires a redstone signal to work. So for example, if I wanted to craft, let's grab some like cobblestone, just for a really simple example of how this thing works. If I want to craft a furnace, this here is a template, so you'll see I'm not actually using the cobblestone here, this is just telling it what pattern I want this to make, and then if I put things into here and give it a redstone signal, it will go ahead and craft those every time I give it a redstone signal. So if I do this, boom, crafts 1 furnace. If I do it again, craft a second furnace, and I can do this as many times as I want, and it will craft as many furnaces as it possibly can. Pretty cool. And by using this liquid crafter, we can set a timer for how often we want it to make cakes, because it requires a redstone signal in order for it to make cakes. And I struggled a little bit with this concept, because I wanted to set up some kind of dropper system to drop either coal or blaze rods over here onto my endo flames, but I had no idea of any kind of timer. We don't have Project Red installed, and there is no timer, But people did point out in the comment section of the live stream that you can actually make the hourglass from Botania, which works in pretty much exactly the same way. And to make this is actually fairly easy. We need 4 gold, we need 2 redstone, 2 mana glass, as well as 1 mana steel ingot, which is why, again, I've left a bit of mana in the mana pool and haven't opened the portal to the Alfheim yet. So, let's go ahead and grab at least 4 glass. I do want to make 2 of these, maybe even 3, because I'm going to make one of them as a redstone timer for my liquid crafter, and then I'm going to make 2 more, one for this section of Ender Flames and one for this section of Ender Flames, and we are going to set up some kind of dropper system to make sure that these Ender Flames are consistently receiving fuel and constantly working, instead of me having to manually bring over any of the coal, blaze rods, or oak that I want to throw onto them in order to create a little bit of mana. So, let's come back over here. Let's quickly grab ourselves at least 2 iron ingots for now. We can make the 3rd one between episodes, and then other than that, I think we're pretty much good to go. So let's bring this back over to our mana pool. Let's throw all of these in like so. 1, 2, maybe a bit further closer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And if we take these back over to our crafting station, we should be able to craft these up into 2 of these hourglasses, like so. Nice. Now, the way that these work is they do require sand. So I'm going to take some of this, and basically the way that these work is you put them down next to the item you want to send the redstone signal to. So in this case, we're going to put one down next to our liquid crafter. We can get rid of this lever here, and let's grab ourselves some more cobblestone, shall we, and see if we can do this. Same thing again here. We'll do the same recipe. We'll put cobblestone in the furnace shape like so. We'll put cobblestone into there, and the way this works is you give it 1 sand, I think it's for every 1 second that you want it to tick over. I'm not quite sure if it's exactly a second, or maybe it's a bit more or less, but it feels like it's about a second per piece of sand that you put in. For example, if I was to take 5 sand here and put all 5 sand into the hourglass, it will now take 5 seconds for that sand to push down from one side to the other, and when it does push down, it will go ahead and craft one up, and it will go ahead and spin over. If you watch again real quick, like so, it flicks over, and now we have a 5-second timer which emits a redstone signal every 5 seconds, telling the liquid crafter to craft a furnace. Pretty cool. And so all we need to do now is the exact same thing, but with cake. So we need to find out how long it takes all of the cake-eating flowers to actually eat a cake, and then set the timer to that time, so that every so many seconds it creates a new cake, which is then put into the AE system. Because it's being put into the AE system for the first time, and it's the only one in there, it's going to automatically put it down at the formation plane, at which point the cake's going to eat them, and the process is going to repeat over and over and over and over and over again. Pretty cool. So, to do this, we are going to need quite a bit of applied energistics, because we actually need to be able to craft all of our essences, like cow essence, chicken essence, sugarcane, wheat, all that stuff, into its actual form, like buckets of milk, eggs, etc., etc. So, what I'm going to do for now, I think, is quite possibly set this up out here. Now, the reason I'm setting it up out here, it might seem like a real weird place to set it up, but it is. But this is where our dense cable is, and this is where we have the most channels available. You'll see we have 22 channels free in this area over here, and we're going to use quite a bit of applied energistics to get this done. And so I'm going to set up out here, and we'll move it in the future once I get some more of these ME dense cables. But the basic idea is that we're going to have the liquid crafter here. Now, we could go ahead and stick down an export bus and just tell the AE system to export all of the cake ingredients into the liquid crafter. The only problem with that is that this system here would very quickly fill up with wheat. We have a ton of wheat, and we don't have a lot of milk buckets, eggs, and sugar, and if this system fills up with wheat, the system will back up and it will stop working. And so what we need to do is we need to make sure that no more than 1 stack of every item is in the liquid crafter at any given time, which means there's never any more than 64 wheat, 64 eggs, 64 sugar, and I guess probably 64 buckets of milk, but we're probably just going to stay with no more than 3 buckets of milk in the liquid crafter at any given time. Now again, there might be a way to do this with applied energistics. I'm not 100% sure, but again, I have figured out a way that I can do it with a different mod, and that mod is Translocators. It's actually a mod that I've seen quite a bit, but never actually used. It's a very simple mod that adds very few items. It adds the item translocator, the liquid translocator, and the diamond nugget. We're going to use the diamond nugget and the item translocators in this episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start by making at least 2 of these item translocators like so. They are made in pairs, and we're also going to make 9 of these diamond nuggets like so. And basically the way that this is going to work, we're also going to require a chest as well as an export bus, which is not that guy. We might have to actually make an export bus from scratch. We should definitely have a formation core spare from earlier in today's episode, because I made 2 of them at the beginning. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that export bus as well as some of our ME cable, which we have here. We're going to bring it around, and we are not going to put that there. Instead, we're going to put an export bus onto that chest, and then we're going to have the translocator send items from this chest down and into the liquid crafter. So the way this is going to work, for example, is we're going to have this here, and And let's say that we tell that export bus to keep that chest full of wheat. Like we said before, it is very likely that chest could quickly fill up full of wheat, and we don't want that to happen with our liquid crafter. And so what we're going to do is we are going to tell that to export wheat. That should quickly start to fill up with wheat. Maybe not quickly, but it is going to fill up with wheat over time and as our wheat farm continues to grow. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put item translocators on the bottom of this chest and on the side of this liquid crafter like so. So we're going to put one here and one there. And the way that these work is you can click the middle button on those item translocators to change the input and output. So for example, if I click this button here, if I right click in the center of this item translocator, the items will now go from that chest round and into the liquid crafter. But as you can see, right now our system is going to quickly fill up with wheat. We don't want that to happen. And so what we're going to do instead is we're going to take these diamond nuggets and we're going to put those diamond nuggets onto the inside of this receiver here. And then in the receiver, we can now fine tune how many wheat we want this to receive. For example, I do not want any more than a stack of wheat inside this liquid crafter at any given time. And so now you'll see that it slowly fills this up. If I put all of this wheat back in this chest, you'll notice that it will fill up to a stack, but it will not put any more in until we take one out. If I take one out, it will automatically fill it up. If I take half out, it'll put 32 back in. And so now we can guarantee that there is never any more than a stack of wheat in this liquid crafter at any given time. Pretty cool stuff, right? And so what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm probably going to have to set up a chest and an export bus and some translocators for every one of our items. So that means we're going to have in total, let's have a look here again at the cake real quick. I think like 4 or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to have 4. So we're going to move this liquid crafter out by 1, put a chest, an export bus, and some item translocators on every single side. One for wheat, one for sugar, one for eggs, and one for milk buckets. And I'll be back in a second. And a little while later, we have something that looks like this. We now have 4 chests, all with export buses exporting their different ingredients into the chests, item translocators to take items from the chests to the liquid crafter and make sure we don't have too many of those items in the liquid crafter. It's currently set to have no more than 32 wheat, 32 sugar, I think 2 eggs and 3 milk. Those are kind of random numbers. We should probably just set it to 1 egg, 3 milk, 2 sugar, and 3 wheat. But I thought we'd have a little bit of leeway and make sure there was always stuff in there at all times. And we also have the hourglass in the middle here, so we can go ahead and send the redstone signal to the liquid crafter whenever we need to. Now, the next problem with the setup that we currently have is that most of the ingredients, everything apart from wheat, needs to be crafted. For example, milk, we're not collecting it anywhere. We don't have milk just sitting in our AE system. It's currently in the form of cow essence. All of our eggs are in the form of chicken essence, and all of our sugar is, of course, in sugarcane. And so what we need to do is we need to tell our AE system to automatically craft those things and send them to these chests over here. And the way that we're going to use that is with this one molecular assembler over there and one of these ME interfaces. So if we throw it down like this, we went over this like a while back now. We set this up, but I kind of never really used it. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to come back over to our pattern terminal. I've gone ahead and crafted up 3 patterns here. We'll start with sugar because it's the easiest. We will go ahead and grab one of those, teach our system to make sugar. We can teach our system to make milk buckets, and we can teach our system to make eggs. Cool. So we include all those, and we put all of those into the ME interface here. So now if we go into the system, and we type in, say, sugar, we now have the option to craft it. And if we click craft, it will go ahead and send 1 sugarcane from the system over to the molecular assembler, turn it into a sugar, and bring it back. Pretty cool stuff, but still not quite what we wanted to do. We wanted to automatically craft that stuff and send it over to our chest. And the way that we're going to do that is by using crafting cards on our export buses. So if we type in crafting card, we want to make 3 of these guys over here. Thankfully, they're fairly easy to make. We just need crafting tables as well as these ME basic cards. And to make these, we need some iron, some gold, some redstone, and some calculation processors, which I went ahead and made between now and the last cut. So we can go ahead and make 3 of those fairly easily. And now if we go back over to the export buses for sugar, eggs, and milk, and we put one of these in there. And now what that's going to do is if there isn't any sugar in this chest down here, so for example, if we take all of that sugar out, we do not have any sugar in the system at the moment, but we do have sugarcane. So if I take this out here, it should go ahead and auto craft one and stick it in the system for me, like so. Our system now knows how to craft sugar from sugarcane. Pretty cool. We can do the same thing over here. This one is for buckets of milk. We currently only have 2 buckets of milk in the liquid crafter here. We need 3. So if we put in a crafting card for this, it should go ahead and automatically craft up a bucket of milk, stick it into that chest, and then put it straight into the liquid crafter. It might craft more than one. You can see already we have 3 in there. It might craft more than one. It definitely will craft more than one and try and put it in here, but these item translocators won't let that extra bucket go into the system just yet because we specified no more than 3. And of course, we do the exact same thing over here with the eggs. And now we have a fully automatic way of getting all the ingredients we need over and into the liquid crafter whenever we need them. All we need to do now is have a way of getting the cake out of the Liquid Crafter and back into the AE system, and we're going to do that the same way that we've transferred all of our items pretty much so far in this mod pack, and we're going to use an ME interface, and we're going to use some of these item transfer pipes from Mekanism. So if we put this right about there, run inside and grab ourselves some transfer pipes, which I think we might have lying around in our AE system. If we don't, we have 3. I think we might need a few more than 3, so I will make those. Thankfully, they are not too hard to make whatsoever. We are going to need one more of those basic circuits, so let's get ourselves a bit more osmium and a little bit more redstone. I'm going to be a little bit wasteful here on the redstone, but to be fair, we do have quite a bit of the stuff lying around now, so I'm going to go ahead and just put normal redstone into the metallurgic infuser when really I should enrich it and then put it into the metallurgic infuser because it gets us 10 times as much. But like I said, we got a lot of redstone, and I don't really want to have to wait for this thing here to turn my redstone into enriched redstone when it's not 100% necessary. And now all we need to do is go ahead and do something like this. I want to make sure it doesn't touch any of the other items or interfaces, and then just like we've done in the past, we can take our configurator and we can shift right click on here and not shift right click. I think it is shift right click, but we need to leave wrench mode, so let's shift M to normal mode, shift right click to pull, and now it will pull any cakes out of here directly and through into the AE system. And we do already have these things set up, the formation plane set up over here with cakes set to output. You can see cakes over there. And so now if we teach this Liquid Crafter here how to make cakes, so for example, if we go boom, 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 we're going to put those in the middle. You can see it's automatically putting new stuff back in. Like as soon as I take the sugarcane out to craft it, it's filling it back up pretty much instantly. And then we'll do the same with wheat like this. We can always go ahead and put these back in the system. It now knows how to make cake, and all we have to do is put enough sand into our hourglass so that it only makes cake every, say, 30 seconds or so. So that is pretty much all set up. All we need to do now is actually get the cake flowers. So the time is now. We are going to come back over to our portal to the Alpine. We're going to grab ourselves an ender pearl and craft that up real quick into a mana pearl. Actually, you know what? We'll grab quite a few ender pearls because I want to make quite a few of these cakes because that's going to give us a lot of mana to work with in the future. And so I'm going to make as many of this pixie dust as we can in between episodes. I'll make a bunch more of the cake eating flowers and try and scale up the process that we're making in today's episode. But I think all we have to do is right click right about here, and that's going to start to pull mana from these mana pools here extremely quickly. And this thing, actually, I might have been completely off when I said half a mana pool. It looks like it's up and running. It might be configurable. I'm not quite sure. But you'll see it is constantly pulling mana from these mana pools through these pylons. But now, if we throw, first of all, our Lexica Botania through here, we should get a higher tier Lexica Botania back. And now, if we open this, we should have information, I think, about, yeah, you'll see it's talking about the Elven stuff. We could skip through here a little bit. And now it's got some stuff on the Elven ways. And I think if we look up the recipe for pixie dust now, it might even tell us that we've got to throw a mana pearl into the Elven portal. It does. And so if we throw all of these into here, we might, it needs to be mana first. Let's throw those into the mana pool first, like so. And once we've got all of those, we can then throw those into the Elven portal, and we get back a bunch of pixie dust. Pretty cool stuff. And now all we need to do is actually go ahead and craft up the cake flowers. So it's not spelled like that, it's spelled like that. So to make this, all we need to do is get our pixie dust, get our rune of gluttony, get 1 mystical white flower, 1 mana white flower, 2 orange, 2 brown, and we are good to go. So let's put you on there. Let's put the rune of gluttony on there, and I'm fairly certain, possibly, that we have all of the petals required to actually make this work as well. Let's have a look. Petal. We do not, let's see, white. Yeah, we have the white flowers, so let's go ahead and craft those up into petals. Orange, I think we did have enough of. We got 2 of those, so we can go ahead and craft those up as well. And then brown, we also have enough of as well. Perfect. So once again, both of the brown ones need to be mana, so let's go and throw you in like, almost like that. Let's throw the orange one in, let's throw 1 of the brown ones in, let's throw 1 of the white ones in, and I think that's pretty much it. So we'll put 1 orange one on, 1 orange mana one on, we'll put 1 mana white, both mana browns, 1 normal brown, and then right click. No, it's because we're doing it in the wrong place. I always do this. This is for the Petal Apothecary, right? Yeah, we need to do this in the Petal Apothecary, not in the Runic Altar. I make that mistake every single flipping time. And let's take you, let's go back over to our Petal Apothecary. Thankfully, the Petal Apothecary is kind of a lot easier to craft in because it doesn't require any kind of mana to actually work. So let's take that, let's fill you up like so. Let's put in all of the stuff again. So orange flower, white, normal orange, both browns, normal white, pixie dust, gluttony rune, and I think that's it. Follow all of that up with a normal seed, and we get ourselves the Kekimoto's flower finally. And I think we might even be able to make this a floating flower, possibly if we combine this up with this like so. We can. And the only reason I'm doing that is so that we can put it down without having to put some dirt down over here. And so now I think if we, for example, put it, I guess just about there might work. I didn't want to put it so close to the mana pool, and we grab one of our elven mana spreaders. So these guys over here. What we're going to do is we're going to point this directly at this mana pool here because the terrestrial plate is already there. We can put the sparks back down if needs be, but let's do that. Let's bind you to you, and then all we need to do now is actually put some sand into the hourglass. So let's come back over here. Let's grab for now like 30 sand. I'm not quite sure how many we're going to need, so we'll grab 30. 30 I think should be enough. I did a bit of testing in a single player world, and between 25 and 30 seems to be a nice amount for it to constantly work, because remember, we don't want it to craft a second cake before the first cake has been completely consumed, otherwise the AE system won't output it. And so we will put the 30-second timer in like so, and that's going to take a little bit of time to craft the first cake. But once it does, it'll output the cake there. This thing should then start to eat that cake fairly quickly and send quite a bit of mana up and through to this elven mana spreader here. And I think it should take just shy of like maybe 25 seconds for that flower to eat that cake. And it should completely consume that cake before the next cake is crafted up. This thing should be ready and waiting to craft the next cake. It is. It has all of the required items. That looks like it might have been a little bit too fast, possibly. Let me go back inside and see if that actually put down the second cake. I don't think... Oh, it totally did. It totally did. This one finished just in time. So let's try and keep an eye out. I might have to add a few more seconds to that because that seemed very, very close in terms of how long it took to eat the cake and compared to how long it took to actually make the cake. So we might have either set it just perfect or maybe just a little bit too fast. It's almost there. That's going to eat the last slice. Yeah, that's fine. That seems to be perfectly fine. And that's done. It puts down another cake. It takes a few seconds to pipe round through the item pipes here. And then once it's in, it puts it down. And this system will just continually make cake, send mana to the mana pool here. And then we can use all of that mana to make ourselves a Terra Steel. We can also use the mana produced by all of these things as well if we'd like to make the Terra Steel as well. But that is the setup that we are going to use to try and get ourselves a bunch of Terra Steel for all of the crystal clusters. And what I'm going to do between episodes is try and make a few more of these cake-eating flowers. If I do, I might just lower the timer on this thing over here. I don't think we're going to need any more of these formation planes because like multiple flowers can eat from the same cake. And so if I was to put like 3 of these down instead of just the one, what I might do is just change that timer from 30 seconds to 10 seconds, and so it makes it 3 times faster because there are 3 times as many flowers, and we should get 3 times as much mana and make it much, much quicker. What I'm also going to do, actually what I'll do right about now, is we can make ourselves a dropper. We're going to have to kind of tweak this between episodes. We can get ourselves a dropper, just a vanilla Minecraft dropper, like so. We can use that second hourglass, which I think is still in here. It is. And we can stick that down right above our ender flames over here. Like I said, I want one of these on both sides. So let me quickly grab some kind of cobblestone or something so I can build up a little bit, because I want them to drop downwards onto the flowers, not kind of next to them. Although I don't think it really matters if it drops next to them instead of downwards. So if we were to do something, let's say, for instance, like this. If we put the dropper right about there like that, and then we go ahead and stick down our hourglass right above it, what that's going to allow us to do is schedule how often we want, say for instance blaze rods, or maybe even more specifically wood would be a better choice for us because we have a ton of the stuff, 80,000 to be precise, in this deep storage unit. We can specify how often we want these oak wooden planks to be dropped onto all of these ender flames here. So for example, let's say we put down the timer like that. Let's go quickly back to our AE system and grab some sand. One thing we should probably do, and one thing I probably will end up doing between episodes, is putting a storage bus on this deep storage unit so that our AE system can access that 80,000 wood, because right now if we look in the system, it's not there, it's not connected in any way. But if we put a storage bus on there, our AE system will count this as like a chest, and then we'll be able to access all 80,000, at which point we can stick an export bus onto this dropper over here and keep this thing full of oak wood at any given time. And then all we need to do is get like a 10-second timer like so, stick it in there like that, make sure this thing's full of wood, and then every 10 seconds it's going to go ahead and drop one piece of oak onto these ender flames. You can probably set it to less than 10 because there are 4 ender flames, and I'm fairly certain that all 4 ender flames can reach the wood that is placed down there. But that's the essence of the automated system that we're going to use to feed all of our ender flames. And now we have a much better mana generating system. We've got the thermal lilies, which are using all of this lava to produce mana. We've got the ender flames, which we can automate with the droppers and the hovering hourglasses to produce mana. And we've got these cake flowers over here, which are producing quite a lot of mana, especially once we get a few more of them. But with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of Hypovolemia there. I feel like it's been a bit of a long one. Next time I'll come back, hopefully, we will have quite a bit of mana. What I'll probably end up doing as well is like making a few more mana pools and spreading out the mana amongst a few of those, and hopefully we'll have enough to make at least our first crystal cluster, and we'll also start working on a few of the other quest lines as well. But with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of Hypovolemia there. As always, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time.